Hey everyone, it's Justin here, Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. Thank you for joining us on this show, as well as our over now 320 episodes, as this is episode number 321. I just want to thank everybody for their love and support, following us, uh, subscribing, giving us the big thumbs up, like, share, follow, all those things that are free, and helping us reach 80 countries, over 80 countries, 800 cities. It just really, it's remarkable. And we can't do this without you. So thank you so much for tuning in, whether this is your first episode. If it is your first episode, you're going to want to at least go back to episode the previous episode. I just lost what what number it was. I know I just said it was 320, but you'll want to go and check out basically part one of our conversation with the guests we have on today, because it all ties together with uh, with with these two shows specifically. And we are delighted to have our guest stick around, take time out of her day to uh, to be with us, to talk with us, to share uh, her heritage, her vision. She is Brittany Jones, BJ for Governor 2026, it's the state of Oregon. And in our part one episode, we dug in to uh, just a lot of the background of BJ, uh, heritage, what kind of state Oregon is from a just from like an outsider perspective. Has the coast and in many different areas that not all the states here in the United States has. So it's very eye-opening, and I like to learn, and it was very, very helpful. As the previous show was about halfway and get towards the last a few minutes of the show, start getting into politics, how to register for office. Talked about her being an introvert like I am, and whether you're an extrovert or introvert, you can run for office. You just have that belief in what you're doing, what you want to do. Uh, in the end, we want to help people. So uh, we give open invitation to anybody who is running for office, and we are it's like an equal opportunity provider. So what we're sharing BJ for governor for 2026, and we're going to get into her platform and a little bit more detail here in this episode. But we would love to also do that for others, whether it's in the state of Oregon or another state, or even another country. We would be happy to have you come on and share a little bit about yourself and what your plans on doing, and once you get elected and are in that position. One thing I didn't know, which BJ mentioned, that she's run or ran for president as well, and so that is awesome, because that is when, for our viewers and listeners that know about me, I like to dream big, think big. And so when she mentioned that she ran for president, it's like, oh my gosh, this is really a next level individual that really truly wants to help, not just on the local level, but on a national level. So uh, we've never had a presidential candidate or somebody's ran for president before on our show, so we're grateful for that. But without further ado, just want to reintroduce Brittany Jones, BJ, for Governor of Oregon 2026, for joining us on this second part of the episodes.
Happy to be here. Happy to continue the conversation. Looking forward to it.
Excellent, excellent. Uh, so let's jump right in. The way we got connected was through a mutual acquaintance, and that is around the topic of human trafficking, sex trafficking. Uh, what are your thoughts on it, and how are your thoughts and plans different than what is currently and what has historically happened around that area?
This is something, so when I used to act, I was part of a horror film, like a student project called The Chop Box, and it was about a monster, but
Okay.
it was based on the sex trafficking along the I-5 corridor. So the I-5 corridor is one of the worst in the nation for sex trafficking. And a lot of the times you don't see law enforcement enforcing it in the way that I feel it should be enforced. A lot of the times the victims are charged with crimes and not the perpetrators. So making a system where the people who are the victims can come forward without fear of criminal prosecution to actually come forward and say what is going on, I think would be a huge step in stopping sex trafficking through here. In general, that's something that I wanted to do on a national scale, but since I'm running for Oregon, I have to focus on Oregon and, improving the infrastructure, making sure that resources are being put where it needs to be along the highways, making sure that there's safety checks in place. And this is kind of a controversial stance I have, but adult work has been around since. Why is the mouse not working? I'm trying to be coded because my daughter is right next to me.
Yeah, yeah, I understand.
Just 1 second.
Yes, not a problem at all. Yeah, just so awesome to be able to have these conversations and learn. I learn more. You may learn more watching, listening. It's just incredible to hear. Yeah, go ahead and continue whenever you're ready.
Yeah, sorry about that. But that profession's been around since, almost since money was invented. And being able to have it legalized and regulated puts protections in place for the people working in that industry. And so putting those protections in place really helps. She's sick from school. I know this is another episode, so I'm going to reiterate that she's homesick from school, so that's why she's with me right now. Um, but knowing, especially, having a child like that, like a young child, and knowing the statistics, knowing that a lot of women and men are victims throughout their life, getting, I feel like offenders don't get more than a slap on the wrist. I think offenders should get the maximum penalty every single time. There should be no minimum penalty for offenders. Like our kids, our people, our women, our children, our men, we need to be protected from this, from human trafficking and being victimized. And the protections need to be in place for victims as well.
Yeah, is so well said. I believe it. Our organization, uh, as a whole, believes that people should be held accountable for what they do and what they've done, and whatever the reason. uh sometimes there's people that intervene when individuals are trying to share what may have occurred, and again not being taken seriously, and then it's kind of getting a slap on the wrist as if it's, I don't know, like they stole a candy bar from a convenience store. That this is, again, it's serious, and you have a daughter, we have a daughter. uh that's what makes this also personal for me, is the longer individuals are allowed to freely roam around and do what they do, again, like you said, whether it's it's a girl, a woman, a man, a child, what have you, we're all human beings, and uh we we really should, as a nation, and I would believe that what you running for president, that's something that, if you were elected, that you would also ramp up and be able to do it on a broader scale of the United States. As we are with the governor race, again, you're looking at it from uh, that lens, uh, and that actually, the mutual acquaintance that we have actually is a human trafficking survivor, and did go and even to this day goes through just horrific things that any one of those, to the common person, would be like, well, yeah, that person should be held accountable. And it's incredible when others say, "Oh, that didn't happen," or "Oh," like you mentioned, that the survivors are the ones charged with crimes from their traffickers, and that's that's something, currently we're working through as an organization of, we want to help people, and if an individual or individuals are upset at something we say, first off, we have the Constitution, so we have that First Amendment right of free speech. And number two, prove us wrong, prove us that you didn't do this, that you weren't involved, and then that way, we can move on. Uh, but until like all that happens across the country, and especially in Oregon, and I didn't know about the I-5 corridor, that's the kind of like a gateway from, once somebody is taken, that it it allows them to get away pretty easily, and they're on the highway, they don't have to go on 15 back streets to get back roads.
Yeah, and we also have the MMIW crisis that
Yeah.
MMIW started in Canada. It's the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, Children, Two Spirit. Some organizations down here go by MMIP, Missing and Murdered Indigenous People, so that it covers all genders because all genders are targeted. And the I-5 corridor, oil pipelines, man camps, working camps, and there's not really any justice for the Indigenous community because the federal government and the state authorities all say it's not their jurisdiction, even when it happens off of reservations. And then when it does happen on reservations, they don't have the support, they don't have the funding, they don't have anything from any outside sources. And building up that type of infrastructure on the reservation, you need permission from the federal government to develop infrastructure. And so it's like our hands are tied when it comes to even protecting our own people. So like a lot of changes need to be made in many different aspects.
And so to, to summarize it what I hear is, right now there's the protections for people, in general, and children, and what across the board, they're not in place, and so that's something I would assume that, uh if elected, governor would be, have a big role in your, the platform, and executing that platform of, day one of, what you might be looking at. And I'm not sure, and you may have or may not. I'm not sure. Like, what's day one, if elected, look like in your administration?
Well, it's going to be very busy because with everything that's going on with the homelessness epidemic, the MMIW crisis, the continued genocide against the Indigenous community, the drug epidemic, all of that going on, even just within the state of Oregon itself, constitute a state of emergency. And when the governor enacts a state of emergency, it gives the governor control over state agencies, including law enforcement. So I could immediately start taking directive control over these agencies and making sure that the resources are allocated the way they need to be for investigations and keeping people safe rather than targeting equity priority communities is what somebody asked me to say before, because
Mhm.
that covers much, anyone that's in that moment needs that coverage, needs that help. That's the community that we focus on right now, with ICE violating human rights across the board. As governor, I would be able to say you cannot detain people in the state of Oregon and you cannot extradite them. So pretty much I can't kick them out of the state because they're federal, but I can tie their hands in targeting people and violating human rights. So there's many things like that. And then there's a homelessness program, a housing program I want to implement. And if I can't
Mhm.
get the legislator to approve funding for it, I'll just use my own salary and get it started. And that's on my website as well.
Okay.
Because things need to get done, things I can't sit around waiting for something to be approved. Like I've lived off of 12 to 20,000 a year my almost my entire life. So the governor's salary will be a huge step up and
Mhm.
I can actually use that salary to help people in a way that I
Yeah.
haven't been able to before.
And that's an incredible point you bring up, that uh and I think from my experience of with Voices for Voices, it's one thing to, talk about something, or, join an organization, and, that somebody else started. Uh, but when you start your own thing, and not just starting it, but when you put your own money, your own spend, your time, the blood, sweat, and tears is the cliche that's being used, and so that's where I felt as where we're at as an organization, that uh, willing to put the money where our mouth, put our mouth where the money is, or whatever that saying is, of saying, if this won't be done and I'm able to do it by personal means, then I'll be it. I'll, donate, and I'll be able to do that. And so to hear you said that, that's huge, because you are talking about, enacting and getting, leadership over those agencies. Uh, but you're also saying that, okay, well, if the money's not there in the budget, or you'll do what you need to do, and that you're willing to, put the money, your own money, towards that. And that is, I think, just from a humanity perspective, it's just a beautiful thing to hear, and it makes individuals think, like, okay, like, they're legit, like, they're not just trying to, do all these things. I mean, we are, we got things we want to do, but if there's something specific, that a certain amount of money that we have, that we can, like you said, fund ourselves, that means so much. And so you're a candidate that really is willing to reach into your own pocket if you need to do that. Uh, has that mindset always been there with you, of, any helping people, whatever that may be, whether it's money or volunteering, or is that something that recently it came to you?
That's always been my mindset. I kind of, so especially, like for example, when I was homeless as a veteran and I had my kids and I couldn't get help from the VA or any of the programs associated with the VA because they had a requirement that you deploy at least one day to a combat zone to be able to qualify for their housing services. Not everyone in the military deploys to a combat zone. So that lets a lot of us fall through the gaps and leaves us homeless on the streets. So I made a statement. I opened up a thrift store to raise money to help get people like myself off the streets. Now, COVID did happen. It was kind of during that time, and so it didn't last very long, but it was still the effort, and I still
Hmm.
want to bring that back. But before I could bring that back, and I had my other store, I was a metaphysical shop, and I just invited the community in for a safe place to be able to gather without, persecution. And then I've had throughout time, when I had my home, different people living with me at different points in time to help them get on their feet. So it's always been how I am. And even when I was running for president, I put way more finances into it than I ever got. Like I never collected my full salary, and anything I did collect, I like paid the bills that needed to be paid, and then I put everything else into the campaign again. And it got to the point where I was putting so much into the campaign that I gave up my house, I gave up my store, I gave up everything to campaign full time and put everything I could into it. And I'm going to do the same thing with the governor campaign because it's worth it to me to fight for that change. Like I'm a lady on TikTok, I forget the username, said that people aren't taking a stand because they're afraid to give up their couch, their comfort zone. And I'm not afraid to lose my couch. It has to be done to make changes on the scale that I want to make the changes on.
Absolutely. And I can't continue without talking about a little about mental health and how that how mental health affects individuals going through things, whether they're a human trafficking survivor or a child in an abusive situation, or anybody that's in an abusive situation. It sounds like mental health is one of those priorities as well. It might, it, while it's not the overarching, the human trafficking, but it does have that mental health uh, connection of the trauma of going through being taken and what occurred during that time, and where you're being fed, and things like that. And I applaud you for that, because uh, that's something that we as an organization believe in a lot. And there's a lot of people that need help. Some don't know it, uh, and so I just want to say thank you for having that piece also in there, because that's important. As we all know, we all have it. Uh, some I want to talk about it, some don't. And again, I'm one of somebody like yourself, where you could sit around and think, and uh, or you can go out and do it, and see what happens. The worst thing that's going to happen is the answer will be no, but I'm at least going to give it a shot. And uh,
And
can
it's
you just
always a learning opportunity.
yeah, yeah, yeah. If you can expand on any of that mental health, whether it's your own, or how people that you've met over the years, and as you're running for the governorship, how that would be one of those priorities of helping if an individual needs it.
Well, I want to start at the base level first, like the younger. I know my son has attenuated psychosis syndrome, which is a step before schizophrenia. So he has auditory and visual hallucinations and ADHD and ODD, and so oppositional defiant disorder and hyperactivity. So when he was in this school in Elkton, instead of a principal, they actually had a licensed counselor in that office. So instead of being sent to the principal, children were sent to this counselor to be able to talk out what happened. And his behavior and his grades improved so much in that school during that time that it really, I think that should be the standard for any school, is to have that mental health available for the children going through those, going through anything, to be able to have
Mhm.
someone there to talk to. Instead of getting trouble, they get to figure out why it happened, how it happened, and how it can, be done differently in the future. And it helps them work through anything that they might need to work through. Lowering the student to teacher ratio as well,
Mhm.
so that classrooms are less stressful. So like starting with the children first and then expanding outward. I would love to have mental health available to everyone. Right now it's so hard to get in to see any type of therapist or psychiatrist or anything like that because they're overbooked and
Mhm.
expensive, and not all health insurances will cover different types of therapy that might be needed. So that a lot of that funding and a lot of that would have to go through, the state legislator, which is out of the governor's hands. But it's something that I definitely advocate for and would push for, to make sure that that could hopefully happen. And with mental health help, we would also see a reduction in gun violence, because a lot of that is because of mental health.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I want to do, we want to do as an organization, is with this huge goal of wanting to help some way, somehow, 3 billion people over the course of my lifetime and beyond. And the other one is to either build a facility or, have like a facility that's already built, but to make it the the mental health equivalent of St. Jude's for childhood cancer, where people can come from wherever, it up to them. The care would be all covered, the travel, all those expenses, and that's the one of the one of the big areas. So uh, definitely on board with it. And I know that from personal experience, when I had my mental health crash in 2017, getting a referral, well, we can see you in 3 months, or oh, well, I don't know if I'm going to be around in 3 months. I don't know, like with things that are how I'm feeling. And it literally took, 3 visits to the ER within 2 weeks to have the psych team come and say, "You know what? Like, you don't have to be admitted. We're not gonna pink slip you, but you're fine. We've run all these tests. You're you're alive. Like, everything's fine. Uh, or you can, decide to do this." And that's one of the things, whether you're who you are, no matter what type of person you are, what your background, what your beliefs are, uh, if you're going through something and you need help, you need it like right now. Like, eh, oh, I'll see you next week or 3 months, and I think that's like I said, it's a yeah, it's expensive. Even if you have insurance, it's expensive. There's a backlog. There's less and less coming through that pipeline, and it's very important. And I literally love what you said about that school, where instead of sending them to the principal's office, send them to a licensed counselor and see if they can get to the root cause of what's going on, before, suspending or whatever punishment, detention that they're going to do. I think that's a model that definitely could be nationwide, let alone, across the board. And in Oregon, I don't know if all the schools in Oregon do that, but that's the first I've even heard of. And I haven't heard of anything like that in Ohio. And so I'm definitely gonna and we're gonna, dig in and maybe do an episode or two just about that, what the benefits, like you mentioned, or you said that grades improved, and uh eh, actual tangible numbers that could point to and say, look, this is working. And I agree. We agree, about the gun violence. Mental health plays a huge role in that of disassociation from what's going on in the real life versus a video game or something. Uh, but uh, yeah, yeah, we definitely have to look into that. And so we'll close by. I think you talked a lot about. We talked about your first day and a lot of different areas. Is there anything in your first 100 days that we haven't covered that you wanted to share to make sure we get on the show?
Well, one thing that we haven't covered, we have talked about some Indigenous issues, but the violation of treaties. So at the state level, I plan on strictly enforcing treaties
Okay.
to make sure, because historically the United States government has violated those treaties again and again and again. And that will not happen when I'm governor of Oregon.
Mhm.
Those treaties will be enforced and honored the way they should have been from the beginning.
And that's huge. Because we can make new laws all day, every day, uh, have treaties, but if they're not being enforced, then what's the use? And so that's, I think, a huge area that it sounds like the current landscape, current governor, past governors have not done that, and so that's a differentiator of you versus uh, the incumbent that she runs again, or others that may have an interest in running. And I'm just so grateful for your time. Uh, I have I wish we had more time, and uh, down the road next year we can definitely do another couple shows, and where you're at, see where you're at as primaries are coming up, and hopefully making it through that process, and then getting ready for the general election. It would be just be uh, uh, a blessing to have somebody to talk to that really wants change and wants change in the right way. So BJ, if you can just one last time, your website and your socials for those that they didn't catch on the last episode, please.
So you can find me on Facebook, Jones for Governor 2026. I'm also on TikTok, BJ for Oregon, and then I'm on Instagram right now. It's kind of a complicated username. Well, not complicated, but it's BJ the number four, or is it? It's Jones the number four, OR Governor
Okay.
2026 on Instagram. But each one of those pages has a link to my website where everything we've talked about almost is on that website. So we're still uploading the website, condensing
Yeah.
down the presidential campaign to a state level and uploading to the website as we do that. But it's all there. I think the easiest one is either TikTok or Facebook to find Jones for Governor or BJ for Oregon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, BJ, for joining us. It's really been a blessing to be able to have you for 2 episodes, and uh, just talk human to human about real issues, real things that are happening in the world, and especially in Oregon. And we wish you all the best, and we'll stay in contact, and don't be a stranger if there's you know we'd be happy to have you on again, as we'd also be happy to have any other candidate that's running for office, whether it's Oregon or not. uh we want to be that platform to give everybody that opportunity, and whether they take us up on that offer, that's up to them. uh but BJ did, and we are just so grateful that she did. So uh BJ for governor 2026. Uh check out the TikTok, Instagram, has links to her website, retooling that from the presidential campaign down to the state campaign right now. Uh, and we just yeah, just grateful to have this time. So thank you, our viewers, our listeners, whether you're in Oregon, whether you're in Ohio, whether you're somewhere else in the United States, or across 80 plus countries, 800 cities across the world. Thank you for joining us. We will see you on the next episode, the next show. And please be a voice for you or somebody in need. And one last time, if you can give us a thumbs up, like, follow, share, subscribe, all that, all those things are free to do. That would help us greatly. So until next time, I'm Justin Allen Hayes with Voices for Voices. And we have just concluded an interview, part two, with Brittany Jones, BJ, who is running for the governorship of Oregon. And the primaries are in May of 2026. General election is in November of 2026. So we'll see you next time. Take care.